You will be shocked why the judge laughed at Elon Musk, and what he did after made everyone go silent. The morning sun gleamed through the towering windows of the San Francisco courthouse as Elon Musk adjusted his tie, the silk not just slightly askew, his face unreadable but his mind racing like a warp drive. This wasn't just another hearing, not some casual corporate slap on the wrist. No, today was different. The courtroom was packed, every seat filled with attorneys, journalists, investors, all buzzing with anticipation, their eyes darting back and forth between papers and screens as if today history might crack wide open. At the center of it all was Judge Chen, a man known for his stoic demeanor and sharp wit, perched high above the chaos like a hawk surveying a battlefield. As the court officer called the session to order, Elon stood, hands folded neatly, an aura of calm masking the hurricane building behind his cool blue eyes. The charges were technical, complicated, and, at least in Elon's mind, ridiculous. A case spun by rivals and opportunists, painting him as a reckless emperor rather than a visionary. The opposing counsel, bloated with self-importance, strutted to the podium and began spewing accusations so outrageous that even the courtroom's murmurs of disbelief couldn't be fully suppressed. Musk leaned slightly toward his lead attorney, whispering something with a smirk. And then it happened. As Elon's team presented a flawless rebuttal filled with logic, data, and irrefutable timelines, Judge Chen leaned back, steepled his fingers, and with a smirk that cut through the tension like a scalpel, he laughed. A brief, sharp, dismissive chuckle that ricocheted off the marble walls and stabbed straight into Elon's pride. For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. Reporters scribbled wildly. Opposing counsel smirked in triumph. Elon straightened, his face tightening not in anger, but in something far more dangerous. Determination. And just as the world expected him to lash out, to crumble, Elon Musk simply smiled. The smile was small at first, a twitch at the corner of his mouth, but it grew, slow and deliberate, blooming into something that no one in that courtroom could quite understand, let alone predict. The temperature seemed to shift as Musk reached into his briefcase, pulling out a thick, black-bound file that none of his lawyers recognized. Even Greer, his steely lead counsel, blinked in confusion. Musk didn't hand the file to his lawyer. He carried it himself, walking confidently toward the clerk's desk, bypassing his own team, ignoring the gasps and protests from the judge. In a voice clear enough to slice through the stunned silence, Musk said, "I move to introduce new evidence directly." Judge Chen's eyebrows shot up so high they practically touched his hairline. "You can't just," he began, but Musk didn't wait. He placed the file on the desk with a quiet thump, flipping it open to reveal hundreds of pages, photographs, encrypted messages, and one item that froze even the bailiff in his tracks, a sealed affidavit signed by a high-level government official. The entire courtroom inhaled at once, like a single lung filling with fear. Judge Chen ordered a recess, but he wasn't smiling anymore. He wasn't laughing. No one was. As the courtroom emptied in stunned whispers, Musk didn't return to his seat. He stood alone, hands in his pockets, gazing up at the judge's bench with an expression that could only be described as calculating. It wasn't revenge he was after. No, it was something far more surgical. In a corner of the courtroom, unnoticed by most, a plain-looking woman tapped furiously on her laptop, live-streaming everything to a private feed. Within 20 minutes, that feed would trigger an explosion the likes of which the legal world had never seen. Outside the courthouse, the sky darkened as clouds rolled in off the bay, mirroring the storm that was brewing inside. Back in session, the courtroom buzzed like a beehive struck with a stick. When Judge Chen reappeared, his face was ashen, the file Musk had dropped now sitting in front of him like a live grenade. Musk didn't blink. He simply watched. Slowly, painfully, Chen cleared his throat and addressed the room, but his voice cracked ever so slightly. New evidence. Substantial. Potentially game-changing. His hands trembled as he shuffled through the pages, eyes darting over the bombshells Musk had just unleashed. The documents revealed a secret network of collusion between several major law firms, political operatives, and even a handful of supposedly neutral judicial advisors. Not just bias. Not just scandal. It was corruption. And Judge Chen's name was not untangled from the mess. Reporters bolted from the room, their phones already buzzing with the scent of blood. Elon sat back down calmly, crossing his legs, while the opposition's lead attorney went sheet white. And then, in the most unexpected twist yet, Musk casually placed a small USB drive on the defense table and slid it across the polished wood toward the prosecutor. "Backup copy," he said with a wink. It was then that the courtroom's observers realized something chilling. Elon hadn't just planned to defend himself. He had engineered a trap, a masterpiece of precision, waiting for the exact moment when laughter turned into begging. Panic seized the court. Lawyers whispered furiously with their aides. Cameras outside the building began to pick up the scent of a scandal so massive it might rewrite rules that had gone unquestioned for decades. Judge Chen fumbled for control, calling for an emergency closed-door hearing, but it was too late. The live feed had already spilled onto social media, onto every major news network, onto headlines screaming corruption at the highest level. Elon Musk strikes back. Musk didn't flinch. As others scrambled, he turned to Greer and said something no one expected. Time to go. Musk stood up, adjusted his jacket, and simply walked out of the courtroom without permission, leaving behind stunned lawyers, a shattered judge, and the debris of an empire that had tried and failed to destroy him. The court officer called after him. Greer half rose from his seat, unsure whether to stop Musk or follow. In the end, he followed. Everyone did. Outside, Musk walked straight through a wall of flashing cameras, a sea of shouted questions, moving like a man who had already won a battle none of them even understood yet. Reporters demanded statements. Protesters screamed both for and against him. Investors on their phones were melting down in real time. And still, Elon Musk said nothing. He simply climbed into his Tesla Cybertruck, fired it up, and pulled away with a roar that seemed to rattle the very foundations of the courthouse behind him. Later that night, as the news cycled through endless loops of the day's events, a single, quiet live stream appeared on X, Musk's own platform. No fancy production. No teleprompters. Just Elon, sitting in a simple chair against a black backdrop, looking straight into the camera with those steely, intelligent eyes. The truth, he said simply, is faster than corruption. His words hit like a thunderclap. He went on to explain the full scale of what had been uncovered, the backroom deals, the favors owed, the puppet masters pulling strings. And he closed with a line no one would ever forget. Next time someone laughs at the future, remember, it's because they're terrified of it. The world erupted. Within hours, calls for investigations into the judicial system went from whispers to deafening roars. Judge Chen was suspended pending inquiry. Opposing lawyers resigned in disgrace. Meanwhile, Musk's companies saw a spike in value so massive that analysts were forced to redraw their charts. But none of that mattered to Elon as he logged off, shut his laptop, and stared out at the night sky, the stars winking at him as if in approval. Against all odds, in the face of mockery and corruption, Musk hadn't just survived. He had rewritten the rules of power. Forever.